Okay, let's start the recording. Thank you. Okay, so as you are kind of already familiar that we would be talking about or exploring different ways in which we can value add to a child's doing. So we've kind of worked on how we how the child can decide in different ways uh, what the child wants to learn, and then we can move when the before the child does anything, what do we do? But before we get on that, let's do a little reflection of the last couple of days from the time of last session. Okay, just one moment. So today we are again trying both the voice and the slide from one device. Let's see if there's any problem with voice or the screen sharing, you let us know. Um, and we'll then split the whole thing. Okay. So before we, as I said, before we get on to value adding, let's get on with the reflection. Okay. Okay. Today we do a little a reflection, which is a rating scale. So we'll try and rate ourselves on. Let me put all of these. We put some seven characteristics, and you have to rate yourself from 1 to 10. 1 can be low, 10 can be high. And don't just rate, don't just give a number, but think of what makes you rate that. So, for example, if you've been like majorly sending thank you mails all around the world, then you can say, oh, I rate myself 8 on whatever gratitude because I've sent some 80,000 mails or whatever. So one line about why you rate yourself. So you can either do it as a private exercise, which means you can go ahead and put that on paper, uh, or you can do it directly in chat window. So give your rating and a one-line thought as to why that rating. You can pick up all these 7, or you can try a few. Obviously, the idea was to just go back to last 2 days and see, hey, how have I been? What have I been using? All of these are tools within us. Here, just would be the fairness aspect of just or justice. So how just I have been. So I guess most of you are doing it on paper because I don't see anything in chat, which is fine. If anybody would like to also share it on the chat. Okay. Amit has been exploring cracking jokes and not being too serious.
Sir, catching, not cracking.
Oh, catching jokes. Okay. Okay. And then I have a chance of cracking few jokes today because Amit is possibly catch some. Okay, Ritu is sharing gratitude 7, listening 9, mindful 6. Bhavika has been listening to her child stories. Now, here, obviously, listening would go a little beyond listening to stories. This is more like listening to people, their needs, wants, intentions, feelings. So, trying to listen to understand them. Yeah, so don't just give it Ritu number five, but qualify it, as in why you giving it five. In fact, often when we do this exercise, we say you're not allowed four, five, six. So maybe that's the constraint for Ritu. You're not allowed four, five, six. So you can either either rate one, two, three, or seven, eight, nine, ten. Okay. Amit is saying, L, most people except my wife. Amit, then you are in trouble. Right. Yeah. So again, it's not a question of badly or goodly. The idea is that this is just a way to look back, and what number we give is not really important, but this act of giving number often triggers the whole thought process, because your mind goes searching kind of what we have been doing. Right. So on the slide now, though you may not be able to read it, is uh, the rating given by one child yesterday. We did the same. We actually showed them the same slide. Normally, when we do with children, we often ask them to choose, or we co-create this list of characteristics. So here we had already made this slide for you all. So we just shared it with the children here, and one of the child wrote these. I'm not reading aloud all of them, but like interestingly, let's say for just or being fair, he rated 7 out of 10. He says, I also bend rules of a drill so that I can get the upper hand. So the child is aware that how he is bending rules so that he can he can get an upper hand, and he is sharing that as an aspect of justice. um, Obviously these the ratings he gave was for his main interest during the day, which is football. um, for example, he's also talking about that he's not so mindful, he's not focusing on small details, rather just thinking whether he's overall coming out nice or not. So it's interesting. um, right. So any thoughts about this reflection, or uh, obviously there's just one more way of reflecting, there are millions. But any thought how how you feel or thinking right now, how you feeling or thinking right now? For us, obviously it is so important that we keep pausing, keep reflecting back, keep kind of doing our own discovery of ourselves, much like how Jiddu guided us. Yeah, Ahmed, it's also a good way to self-reflect or self-assess oneself. Yeah. So once again, I'm reinforcing that the number what the child gives or even you give is not important. I can, in front of others, just rate myself 8, 9, 10 just to look good, or the other way around, just rate very low so that I don't get people to pull me. But deep down, when I'm giving the number, I know what the reality is to some extent. Okay, so that was just to start off with reflecting, and just to remind you that that's a core uh, kind of a digestion. So we say eating is the doing, just as eating is to doing, and similarly digesting is to reflecting. So if you want to digest our learning, we got to reflect. Okay, so today we talk about adding value, which is one role which comes from how uh, Tagore talks about it. He says age considers youth ventures. So what one way to look at this particular quote is how, as children, we possibly are more spontaneous. We are more, or our children are more spontaneous, more intuitive. They will just get into action. They would not really think too much. While as we grow older with longer beards, we consider more, we think a little more, we try to see how we can make it more effective or efficient or useful, and so on. Which is what today's session is all about: how we can make the child's journey more effective, more efficient, more exploratory, more exposy, um, more useful, more value adding. Yeah. So that's exactly what we are going to spend our time today. Uh, some of you had also mentioned, hey, how do we question? We need to learn questioning. So before the questioning to me is a smaller thing. On what basis or in what areas we question is perhaps more important. If I know on what area I need to question, then the actual questioning is not so difficult. So that's what we are going to explore. What are the aspects that we can explore, and which will obviously bring the questioning into focus. Yeah. Okay. So to start this, we will do a little role play, right? What the role play is that there is a child called Aditi, and she wants to do something. And what she wants to do, she will tell you, and you will have to. So just visualize that you have already. She has already decided that she will do this, and now whatever she's coming to you that now is the time. Morning we decided I wanted to do this, so now I want to do this. So this is the time, right? I'm getting into the action mode, the doing mode. So all of you are the facilitators to this child, Aditi, and you will have to whatever interact with her on the chat, and let's see how she responds, and if required in between, I might guide you if I think I can value add to your facilitation. Okay.
Okay. So I want to fix my room's bulb. I decided in the morning. Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, so I want to fix my room's bulb. It's not working. So as we decided in the morning, I think now I want to fix the bulb. So can I?
Aditi, what is your age? Let's take a hypothetical age.
I would be happy to be 7 years.
Okay, she's 7.
Uh, there's no problem because the bulb is not working. So I just want to fix it. No, but you told me, Bhavika, that I can do it by myself. So I'm just doing it. I don't need anything. I know what needs to be done. Yeah, extra, but I don't need extra bulb. I'll just fix this bulb only. No, I don't want to read, Radhika. All this books and all, I don't want to read. He'll, no, I don't know how to fix it, but I'll fix it. Abhiruchi, tools, yeah, I have screwdriver in Papa's drawer, and I'll just fix it. I have seen in videos they have one screwdriver in their mouth, one in their back pocket, and have the red tape. I'll put tape somewhere, and I have to just open. Then there are wires. I'll just do it. No, no, I don't want Amit that uncle's help. I've seen him. I'll just do it. First step, I will just open the bulb. Safety. No, I've not seen Ratnesh uncle doing any safety. He just climbs on the ladder and opens. Yeah, I know. I know what all needs to be done. But Hiral, I know how to fix it. No, Amit, I don't want to teach anything. I just want to fix it. I told you.
Okay. This child is very persistent. Right. So I think some of the interesting things that have come up is, yeah, do we know the steps? Do we know the safety? Do we know the tools? Uh, yeah, and yeah, uh, the, the, can you teach me? That's interesting because in that whole process, the child may tell the steps of the doing it without using the word that, can you tell me the steps? So that's also interesting. Um, yeah, let's write the steps and tools you need. And if the child is 7-year-old and doesn't want to write, the parent can write. So yeah, this is all very very interesting. So what? Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to share. I think I just wanted to make your life really miserable, so I was not agreeing to. But I think some of these questions, when you were asking safety notes or do you know, have I read it, and they were making me think, and my thought was going in that direction. So thank you. Yeah, I think I enjoyed it.
Right. So all of these processes, or all of these questions and sharing that you were doing, is what we call as design. So if a child just comes and says, I want to do something, which is fine, which is great, but merely saying that I want to do something is not enough. Uh, the idea is that we can look at some of, or rather send the child back to see if the child is somewhat clear in his or her mind, which is what we use the word design. Obviously it comes from, let's say if I want to make something, is my design clear? Do I know what's the dimension? Do I know how am I going to look at, and so on, right? In the same way, whatever I'm going to do, whether I'm going to read a book or paint or fix a bulb or whatever, if I can get the child to little work on the design first. So the child goes back and designs, and depending on the age, the child may be able to write and draw it, or even younger ones can actually draw it, even if they're drawing only they can understand, but they can explain the drawing and see, hey, how, like you were asking for the method and the process, and how will you know that something has been done, and do you know the know-how? Somebody asked that, do you know how to do it? What are the steps? What are the, do you want to read what involves? How does a bulb work? The research part, and yes, the screwdriver in the pocket, the tools. And also interestingly, if we can invite the child to see, okay, at the end of it, would we want something? Would we want a photo of it working? Would you want to take a video of it? Would you want to write a little about it? So if the child is clear from beginning, how would one want to end it? And it not is not just the outcome, but also an output. Output is something that we do with the learning, like write a summary, make a mind map, or make a little drawing, make a photograph, make a video, or maybe just go and give a high five to granny. I don't know, whatever could be the output. uh, so yep, so you have actually sketched out most of it. So that's a step, and this is a very interesting step because um, okay, we'll come to that why we do this step in just a little while. Let's go to the next step. But this isn't enough. The child will design something. The child will make a drawing and come back to us and say, hey, okay, I know the steps. Then what? So are you ready with your steps, Aditi?
Yeah, I know safety modes. I know. I haven't read. I don't like reading. I haven't read the wires. Um, yeah, I have screwdriver. Can you? Can I start now? Okay, so now I'm 15-year-old.
Okay. So you change your age.
Yeah, I've changed my
Okay.
age.
Okay. Let's go ahead.
Um, yeah, I know. I know. Chill out, Hiral. Relax. See, can you see this drawing? See, this wire will come from here, and this wire comes from here, and this is negative, and this is positive, and I have to just fix it there, and then maybe I will switch off the mains first, so there is no connection. Um, Come on, Hiral. I know what to do with screwdriver. Yeah, I know. Don't ask me all these questions. You always ask me these questions that am I a baby that I don't know the screwdriver? Yeah, I know. I know all the screwdrivers. Um, you want to join Abhiruchi for joining me in the fixing the bulb? No, come on. No, I want to do it by myself.
No, but she just wants to join you. She would not help you.
Ah, okay. You want to hang around.
Yeah, hang around.
Okay, fine. You can. Yeah, yeah, that would be nice. But I'll put my music, yeah. Why I want to fix? Oh, yeah. Ritu, it feels nice, that I can do it. Uh, Most of the people think that I am no good, but I think I know how to fix the bulb. So I can do it. Parul, you don't need to switch off mains. I've already switched off. I know how to switch off the mains. Abhiruchi, you are not going to play those old music, yeah? I'm going to put Justin Bieber. I like it. Yeah, Amit. Mm,
Okay, so meanwhile, see, now we have a 15-year-old, not necessarily a 15-year-old would know everything. So see, where would you like to kind of get the child to explore before the child actually gets down to doing it?
Bhavika, there is no difference between my bulb and your bulb. No, no, no. I want to fix my room's bulb. So can I fix now? I'm going. Yeah, I'll tell you. The bulb will start working. Here, I'm not smart. Yesterday only you were telling me that I'm dumb. No. You want to learn, you learn on your own. I don't want. I just want to do it by myself. Hmm. Okay. So how should I do it? Um, I know first I'll switch off the mains. Then I'll open. Then I'll fix it. Yeah, okay, Amit. If I need help, but I don't need anybody's help. I know. I have. I know. But let me do it. No, Ritu. No videos and all. Then you put it in your Facebook and all. No. Not my video. What should I show you, Abhiruchi? I know already. No, I don't want to talk to Uncle Bhavika. I just want to do it by myself. Amma, why are you saying rush me, Amma? Why are you saying please and all that? You're not letting me start. Let me start.
Okay, so you are very keen to start, which is fine, but I think somebody else was also asking, can you take us through these steps? Because you said that you will switch off the mains. That's cool. What next? How will you fix it? Do you know what the concept of wattage of bulbs?
Yeah, I read it, but I don't know.
So how would you change the bulb? Because do you know where the new bulbs are kept?
Mama will give me.
Okay. But then which bulb will you put? I'm assuming there are more bulbs. Do you know what is wattage? Would you like to check out what is wattage, where it is written on the bulb, and what does wattage do?
Okay.
Have you read it somewhere? Maybe in some science or somewhere?
Yeah, I read it, but I know, but then I don't know.
Okay. So maybe you can check out what all bulbs are there we have in our stock and which is the bulb that you have there. Come back with that information and then we can little discuss it so that you are then able to do the correct thing.
Which one should I put? Which wattage?
No, I'm not telling you. I'm asking you to figure this out, find out what is there on the bulb as well as what is there in the stock, and then we'll see. If required, then you can go to the corner shop and get
Can
it.
I see wattage in your room?
Yeah,
That bulb.
sure. Since you're switched off the main, it's okay.
Can I remove that bulb also?
Yeah. You can go ahead and explore. I'm okay with that. Right. So, what is perhaps important here is that the design um, and is only the first step where the child comes back with what the child thinks the child needs, but that's not the end of it. That's not really the child is ready for do. We say first design and then discuss, and discussing can be in many different ways. Um, I put few ways here on the screen. Uh, ADC is when you're doing a thorough check with the child, like how an ATC does with the pilot. That okay, this is in place. The pilot says Roger. This is in place. The pilot says Roger. So you can do an ATC kind of discussion, or you can move on to a police department kind of full interrogation. Why are you doing that? What it will involve? How will you know this? And so on. If the child is ready for that. Or you can be a Sherlock Holmes, you can be detective and say, last time you did this happened. So you can bring in evidence and show where the loopholes or the missing links are. Or you can just be a butler. I'm sure some of you had mentioned that, okay, I can just be with you. I want to see how you are doing. I can be at your service. I can be your assistant. I can just be there, which obviously takes care of the safety also by the very essence of us being there. A butler or a cameraman, some people wanted to make a boomerang. So, yes, butler stroke cameraman is a good idea. Another way to discuss is to do carpet bombing. Carpet bombing as a concept is when you throw a whole lot of bombs thinking one will strike the target. That's the concept of World War II. But we use it where, especially with younger children, where we throw in a lot of ideas. We come up with a lot of ideas that would you like to do this or this or this or this. Um, and the child can then pick which one the child is excited about or maybe reject all of them. So you can throw in a lot of ideas and see if the child would like to include any of those in the actual action. Yeah. So or the obvious aspect is that it's an iterative process. So um, it is not like one time the child designs um, and one time the child discusses and then it's over. So child may design, then discuss again, go back, get information, draw things, write down things, note down things, bring the tools, show you the tools, then again discuss, then again go back. So this process may take multiple iterations. Obviously, not so many iterations that the child says, "I'm not doing this only." So we'll have to uh, sense where the child is and how much of this design discussing do I need to do. Um the obvious reason for doing this is basically to keep ourselves, make ourselves jobless. And we don't want us, uh, neither the child coming to us when the child is doing that, oh, Amma, I don't have this, Appa, where is this, oh, like those kind of things, or asking us questions, nor we want to go at that time and start, kind of poking or interfering. So, yeah. What do you think about this whole process and how you think it can help you?
Ratnesh,
Yeah, Amit.
yeah, so recently, like Harry wanted to do something. So basically, he wanted to make the chai. So, like, sorry, he wanted to make those poha. So I said, yeah, चल बनाते हैं. बोला हाँ मगर I wanted to make it by myself. I said, definitely you can make it by yourself. Then I asked him, do you know all the ingredients what you require? He said, I know. I tasted poha, so I know how to make it. I said, but I'll tell you one story about tea making. He said, what is the relation between tea making and poha making? I said, you can find out. And that's when I told him the story about how to make a tea. And that you have to go to the fridge, you have to open the door, you have to take out the milk, you have to close the fridge, you have to take the milk to the platform, you have to take out the milk. It was going in a very elaborate way. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, no, I'm not interested about your tea making story. I'm interested about poha making.
Right, right.
So, so my whole idea became pop with him.
Yeah, yeah. So
But
that will happen. That will happen. And as I
yeah,
said, see, it depends on what
so
the child is doing, where the child is doing. If it is possible, maybe first time we can just say, okay, go ahead, explore, like some of you said right at the beginning. Though here the safety aspects are there. Even in poha making, there's some safety aspects. But other than safety aspects, we can anyway just say, okay, let the child try and realize that okay, he needs more information. So it's not necessary that every time we have to go through an elaborate step by step and detailed way of doing it. Maybe the child will come around and say, oh my goodness, I can't just make it. So as I said, it's an iterative process. And um, but the point is that when the interesting thing is when a child knows in advance. So the key difference between it happening very organically as opposed to bringing in this whole process of design, discuss, do. So what we tell children is that that is the process of doing, that first you design what you're doing, you discuss it with somebody, and then you go ahead and do it. So this brings in that much more rigor from their side. Then when they want to make poha, if Arya wants to make poha in Aarohi, he will come with a piece of paper in the first shot only written down what all ingredients he needs, because he knows that that is a process that is established here. So in the same way, if you want, you can use this term or any other term that you want to use in your home, where the child knows that a little preparation is required, or little designing is required, and little discussion is required before I jump on into doing anything. It could be painting, it could be making something, it could be a simple thing like I want to use my building blocks to make a tower. But even then there could be something that, where am I doing it? Do I need to spread a mat somewhere or what? So uh, it's not that every time, the first time the child is ready to, as I said, children are as Rabindranath Tagore also said, children are ready with full energy, they are ready to jump in. So the whole idea is maybe not the first time, but the second time when the child comes back and says that the poa didn't come out at all, or I couldn't make it at all, that's when you establish the process of design discuss do. Rather than we going peeping into what the child is doing, then quietly trying to give him, take this ingredient, take that ingredient, just to ensure that the outcome comes well. So I would let failure happen, and then the child learns the whole process, that for any success I need to little prepare, plan, design, discuss, and then get into doing. Yeah, Bhavika, we don't have to help the child with more information. We can lead the child, and as I said, the child will learn from his own failures. The child will learn from his own outcome not coming out as it is. So if the child comes to me and says, "I want to make poha," I would say, "Do you want to make it as tasty as how Mama makes, or do you want to make your own freaky version of poha?" So if the child says, "I don't care how it tastes, I just want to make it," then it's fine. The child says, "Yes, I want to make it as good as Mama's," then automatically, if there is a failure, he will come back and says, "Oops, oopsie doopsie." I think, Abhiruchi, I'm not sure if children are not interested in interactions. I think they are always interested in interaction. They are not interested when every time they get a lot of commands, instructions, they get a lot of unsolicited advice, gyan, suggestions, or they get later on get to hear, "I see, didn't I tell you before," kind of thing. So it's how our communication is with the child. uh, the child may have now not wanting to do it, but we can start small baby steps. We can little show the child that how you want to do it, what you want to do is your choice. I'm just trying to value add. And even at the time of planning, when we decide in the morning, we can say that, "Okay, whatever you decide, let's little discuss it before you get into implementation." Oh, baby steps. I said not baby steps, baby steps. Baby steps meaning small, small. Not like you may not have a major interaction. You can just do a small interaction.
Yeah, so there are both kind of experiences. There are children. I'm not going by the age, but as I think any, I mean, I will not say only children. There are all kinds of people. One who likes to talk, discuss, share what all they already know, where they have seen, this similar kind of thing, and where they have learned from, and they have long stories to share with you before they get into the action. And those stories allows us to understand or even add value during that process, that okay, where are the missing points, and then we can add. There are people who would not like to interact with you for various reason at that time. They just want to start, or they're not mentally prepared at this moment for you to be to they like you questioning them. Something similar which I was saying, that I just want to start and I was getting irritated, and some of you actually gave up. That okay, you start, maybe I think uh, uh, at that moment you can see that now next incidents, or when the next doing is happening, how do we establish, when do we discuss? There are times, there are places, like a place like Arohi. Here we have a kind of a, you can say, the space, or the a routine where we actually do these processes. But in homes also these things can be created. Maybe we'll talk about the environment in the next session. Is that, is your dining table, or are your meal timing as the one when you're discussing what's happening, what somebody knows? Or maybe there are separate timings, or when you are just casually talking about it. Maybe children show reluctance when they want to do right now, like I wanted to do, and then some of you asked me question, and then I was too much in a hurry to do it. So you need to understand my hurriness. Mm, not that I'm, maybe after some time if you talk, or maybe some other time when there is a, when there's a when there's an occasion for talk about it, I think um, it happens. But the whole thing which I think I also want to reinforce is that uh, it also allows me as a facilitator or as a parent um, uh, uh, to give, to add lots of different kind of things which maybe the child has not thought at that time, and that also allows me to know that what all child already knows about it, and where else and what else can I bring, um, and how do I add value in the whole process. Then actually once I have done this design discuss process number of time with the child, then at the doing time, uh, then child gets lots of freedom, like child gets lots of independence with responsibility, that these are the things which I can do, these are the things I'll take care, these are the things which I need to take care. So then as an adult, you don't have to go again and say, now you're doing this, you have not even switched off the mains and all those different kind of things. So it allows me also as a facilitator to think in detail about it, that what can happen, what are the various aspects, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, also you can see which things, let's say a child comes to say whatever that, I'm going to make a movie. So I think they are ready to, if we are not, if we are there to with a lot of curiosity to understand them, not to check but to understand. So if you're there to ask them, hey, what kind of movie, I'm curious, wow, you're going to make a movie, so what kind of movie you want, and hey, what tools you need, do you need my laptop for editing it later on? He might say, no, I have an app on the phone. So I'm saying all those interactions happen. Same way with younger children, you can ask them if they have the tools, or if they know this, or if they would like to do this. So if you have a very inviting kind of a, uh, I'm just calling it tone and an approach and interaction, I think children come forward and they like to talk about it. Even though, as Aiti said, they might be little restless, but and then they start realizing the importance of this process of designing and discussing. Right. So let me put this slide, which where we so we can even help children understand why we want to do this design discuss uh, to bring clarity, to bring understanding, so that they can independently do. Then they get more scope to experiment, so that they can actually fail if they want to, or if they end up failing, there is no problem with that. uh, Also, failing and succeeding. And also, this whole discussion leads to them understanding themselves better, what I know, what I don't know, where I'm scared, where I'm not, where I have abilities, where I don't have, which skills I need, which I don't have, and so on. So it develops a more clearer self concept of the child. He or she is able to see himself in a much more detailed way. So you can kind of say this is like reflection before doing, and then there will be a reflection after doing. And yeah, sometimes we have to keep it real short, just to one or two dialogues. Sometimes it can be very long and detailed. Sometimes we push the child, sometimes we let go the child. I don't have a formula. The more you observe the child, your child, the more you can mm, uh, start getting it right. And as anything else, we fail a lot of times. But I think by and large, over a period of time, with this approach that hey, we want to get them uh, 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 to understand themselves. No, Amit, I'm not trying to get them to do it the right way. In fact,
Their
I'm
way.
just trying to understand, helping them understand themselves, not my right way but their right way. I want to understand that. That is why I'm saying it, the first thing is for us to get clarity and understanding and foster independence, and the whole idea of getting them to experiment and fail, right? So that's important. It's not like that I know better kind of a thing. And another thing can be that you can also start doing designing and discussing. You can say, okay, for this job I will be your mentor, and for that job you be my mentor, and let the child question you. Have you decided this? Have you, do you know all the ingredients? The child will also start questioning, and it's fun when it happens both ways. For your planning, the child questions you, and for your planning, the child is your mentor.
And also, what happens is that I, as an adult parent or a facilitator, is also ready, mentally ready, that what's going to happen during the interaction. If child is talking about lot of experiment, lot of exploration, child is saying, I don't know, but I want to try this. I have seen it, but then I've never done it. I want to do this way, maybe, but I don't know, I don't have this tool. So there is a lot of clarity for me as a facilitator to know that what's going to happen now next, and that makes me prepare that what's happening in this whole process. So I think that that brings much more acceptance of the child. uh, I really don't know. Some gadbad is going to happen, or there's no concept like going things wrong. It's just that going things differently, and that allows me to prepare that, okay, which, so then my direction and your direction might be different. This interaction allows me to see your direction. Okay. Actually, gadbad happens when I see only my direction, and then I see that you also should see my direction as a parent or as a facilitator. Then I'm coming and interfering in your way. But if I am aware what is your way going to be, then it helps me to accept you much more, or your way much more.
Right. So the analogy that I like giving is of a restaurant versus a kitchen. Uh, Very quickly, the way I look at my own learning journey through school and college was more like a restaurant where I was being served. The food was cooked for me, as in the learning was cooked for me and served by the teacher or lecturers in a certain way, and I was only there to consume it. Yeah, in which case they were told all the directions, even the projects and all that, everything they told. But the other way of looking at it is, hey, my house or my community or your learning life is a kitchen where you design, you cook, you mix, you research the recipes, and there will be a lot of failures invariably. When you, we all know, when we end up cooking our own things, there's more failure than success. And so it's up to us to decide as a family whether we want to serve the child with all the right information, with all the right advices, with all the right suggestions, or we letting the child explore and mostly fail, sometimes succeed. And that's what, so you can decide how your home is designed. Okay, so what we'll do is we will, over the next 15-20 minutes, we will explore some examples of this design discuss process, keeping in mind that it's a very iterative process. So Aditi will share you some little case studies from that she has picked up, curated for you. Just keep this in mind that it didn't happen in one shot, and it's an iterative process. In the next iteration, it will happen differently. So there is no it's we are not talking about static. Okay, Amit is asking what's iterative. Iterative meaning going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You design, then you discuss, then you again design, then you again discuss, and so on. So it is not a straight line where you do one and two and straight away. So over to Aditi.
Yeah. Okay. So typically, say when a child says, "I just want to bake a cake," so it's not only about just getting either a ready-made bake or just mixing the ingredients and baking it in the baking in the oven, but um, it typically starts with finding the recipe. I can make my own recipe, or I can find from various sources. Um, Maybe it depends
You're
on
saying child can make his own recipe.
child can make his own recipe based on understanding of his ingredients, but even when the child is making his own recipe, we let that recipe be the child's way, but then there is an understanding for myself that what the child has come up with his own recipe. uh, then maybe depending on what the child is ready for, maybe suggest the alternate for ingredients when we get the recipes, that okay, instead of maida, would you like to use rice flour, or would you like to use some other flour? So the options, maybe the child is too much used to thinking baking cake with maida or wheat flour, because that's where the all kinds of recipes talked about it. But why recipes are not talking about any other things? It's just just to create a space to create that stimulation. What if the eggs are not there, then what if the soda is not there? Uh, and at campus, if even if those constraints are not enough, then we don't have the microwave out here. Consciously we don't have many of those things. We have a rocket oven. So understanding of the rocket oven, then how it works, what kind of temperature I need, so all those uh, and it also happens over a period of time. Sometimes they're observing somebody else is doing, so they have the idea that this is how I'm going to bake it. Sometimes they just see the things and then say, oh, I want to try it, and then I think this is how it works, and I think this will also happen. So we go wrong in many different ways. The timings, the child will based on all this process, child will say it will take an hour. It ends up getting into 5 hours, because the ingredients are new, the oven is new, the process is new. Child has his own learning, child has his own disappointments, and so for us it's not enough that the as facilitators we are not satisfied with just the child saying that I just want to bake a cake. Means personally we feel that there's no big deal about it. I just want to bake a cake and bake it. Okay. How do I bring various kinds of learning opportunities in whatever the child has decided to
Um, any thoughts? You can keep posting it in the chat window. For me, the key word here is constraints. For older children, we can directly give constraints like I challenge you, don't make it out of, don't use baking soda, or don't use this. I challenge you, don't use eggs. So some challenge, some constraint, or just say, let's not make a maida cake, or whatever. So with younger children, we give choices. The constraint come in form of choices. Yeah, there is maida to make it, but would you like to make it with this? Or there is this to do it, but would you like to do it this way? So uh, it depends on the child, and uh, I think constraints are a wonderful way. And one of the constraints we can put is on ourselves. Okay, so how is it that I'm going to interact with the child, or where am I going to interact with the child? What help am I going to give, and what help am I not going to give? And that can be very interesting with younger children. I can put constraint on myself and say, I will not do this for you. Now you decide, design and where and how you can uh, yeah, yes, absolutely. I don't know whether it's frustration, Sometimes it's just fun, sometimes it's frustration, sometimes fun turns into frustration in 1 second when failure happens. So all of them are fun, failure, frustrations. They are so-called efforts. And yes, I'm not sure we need a lot of time. We just need a time to design. And as Aiti was saying, this can be over your dinner time or over your breakfast time or whenever you have a time for that. Actually, if we get into when they are doing it, then it takes up a lot of our time. But when we do it as a design process in advance of the doing, then it really saves a lot of time. It's almost like a stitch in time saves nine kind of a proverb.
Yeah, I'm not sure it has to do with the regular schooling or non-regular schooling. I think it's about the culture, which we create a culture, that how this whole process happens. And like any culture, if it is new, it takes time to settle in. If it already there, then you flow with that culture. So uh, it depends on how do what do we want and how do we want to create it. Yeah. So let me share another example that the child, there was an announcement and the child wanted to sign up for the mud fridge. We don't have any electrical fridge at campus, and it was summer, and then um, they came up with an idea that let's make the mud fridge. So that just the idea was not enough. It needed we first we designed the process that let's understand why mud work means, why mud fridge. Somebody got this information, mitti cool, there's some invention has happened, smaller fridges with the mud is happening. Then why mud, why not cement, why not bricks, why not steel? uh, then maybe a smaller model with all the dimensions, collection of data, different materials, um, possibility of other materials, how to make walls, how do we do this, and then how do we understand what kind of sizes I want for this fridge. How do I, so the meetings with the kitchen team, understanding what is that your requirement, understanding how much vegetables do we get in a month, or oh, sorry, in a week, how do we store them, what kind of container size we need. So it took, I think, almost 3 to 4 months uh, uh, for this whole process, uh, for mm, uh, to sink in, to understand. The child who started had zero understanding about the mud as a material, because possibly have not worked with the material, or even things like, she discovered that I don't know the dimensions. Then um, things came in between, and she was not a younger child, he was around 16-year-old. And then she realized that I'm finding it difficult converting from meters to feet and feet to meters. So that was her own journey to understand what all is happening. uh, and yeah, and I think
Okay. I want to add here that apart from the experimenting, collecting, researching before we go on, it's also how much the whole concept of that, yes, you can experiment, that you can research, gives children that space to try out different things and actually fail. Yeah, I remember one child, he had just come for a week. He came up to me and, uncle, I want to make a car. I said, petrol or diesel? And, and he was like, he said, no, 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 uncle, a toy car. But I think that whole, the way I looked at it, the petrol and diesel meant that, oh, you can actually think of even making a car. So when we give them that kind of space, that, oh, you can be thought of it in that way, you don't have to limit yourself, and then you can start, so any projects, those certain projects or certain thoughts look very big, and we tend to think, oh, failure will happen, and we are somewhere scared of the failure. But the joy becomes when there's a lot of experimentation, when little samples can be made, when a lot of research can be done, and actually children enjoy doing that. Maybe some places they will need our help, but that's, I guess, is fine.
Yeah, let me share another example of designing their own studies. So we have a concept like maths club, and signing up for maths club is not that I just sign up. Before that, there is an interaction on why do you want to do it. So there is an also understanding that I'm doing it because my parents want me to do the maths, or I think I'm not good in maths, so I or maybe other children of my age know more maths, so I want to speed or whatever, pump up my skills of maths. Or I'm doing it because my neighbor is doing the maths, or maybe my friend is in the maths club, so I want to come into the maths club. All kind of reasons are fine. There's nothing wrong with any reason to not to be fine, but it's just that that understanding for me as a facilitator, that and even for the child, that okay, why I'm signing up for the maths club. And it's not enough that okay, you have signed it up, now you go to the library, look at your book, there are series of books presented to you from 1 to 10 number. You choose which number you want, you see the which level you are in this, do little bit from there and decide it's hard for you, it's easy for you. Then maybe go back to either the lower version or the upper version. You decide how much you want to do in a day. So all this clarity is created with interaction by doing with children. And I think that's what Ratnesh was saying, it's an iterative process where we uh, keep coming and keep going back to so there are incidences where the children, say a 14-year-old child will think, no, I should be picking up a maths book similar to say ninth standard. He or she would go and pick up, and after 2 days will come back and say, I don't think that's for me, I think I'll start from the fourth level. Okay, they decide which level they want to go with. And even after that, then there is a interaction on how do you learn. Do you learn, where do you need my help? You want to use Khan Academy, you want to use books, you want to use workbooks, you want to use worksheets, you want a person to come and teach you, you want to online connect with someone. So uh, uh, and I have seen personally that many of the time children are clear about it, how do they want it. Sometimes when they are not clear, they pick up the choices, and then and because it's just an option, I can change it tomorrow. Then I come back and say, okay, this is not working for me, I would like to go for this option. Or maybe maybe the option which you gave me yesterday, I want to try that out with you. There is a child who used to tell me that you just sit next to me when I'm doing maths, you just sit next to me, that's all. And once in a while, if I just want some calculation to be asked, I'll ask you. Rest all. So there was a clarity that I need to be here, but then I can do my work while the child can do his work, and in between we can interact, and we can go ahead.
Okay. So this, if you have school going children, you can talk about studies as self-designed studies or self-designed learner. Um, One of the things that Aditi has not talked about, she's talked about very importantly about purpose, about style, which I think two very important things. But another thing that comes in the design is the output, right? The school has a certain way of outputs. They want certain exercises to be done in a certain way, but we can create more interesting outputs. I make a video of how to solve this problem, or I make a little podcast of a minute about the rock formation that I studied in geography, or I can make a little poem about it, or I can make a song about it, or I can make a dance about it, or a drama about it. So when children are looking forward not to an outcome of learning but an output of doing, where whatever I'm doing today, I can convert it into an output. It could be a photo, it could be a video, it could be anything actually. It could be a little blog which you write. The child says out what all, how all I learned, and or how all I did, and you write it down and post it. And then the child feels, oh, even a 3-year-old can see his thoughts have come on screen, and they are like in a blog. So age doesn't matter here. What matters is that the child knows, okay, this will be the output of the whole thing. So please differentiate output from outcome. Outcome is the doing or the learning. Output is a way of presenting it at the end. Yeah. And this really gets get the learning to be or the whole experience to be anchored within the child.
Okay, so let me share another example with you. It's about outdoor trips. So it's not only about just say visiting a museum or visiting a park or visiting a factory. No, 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 no. It's actually starts with finding the information about the place where we are going and why we are going, what will happen there, what can we expect out there, and all this preparation is done by say any child who takes up the responsibility of this trips. How we are going from here to whichever place we have to go, then what kind of fare we can, what kind of money we need to carry, who will pick up, who will drop, what kind of food we are, and when are we going to have the food, who is bringing the food, who is arranging the food. Do we know the map in case if we are not, Google Maps, are we there? So depending on the child, they take a different level of how much they want to get into, and and they also have the freedom to share the burden or responsibility with us, that no, no, this you find out, I'm not finding out at this moment, but the child is aware that these are the many possibilities um, of arranging a trip. So I as a child is not a consumer, that okay, I'll get ready and sit in the car and then you take me to the museum, buy a ticket for me, take me around, show me what all is there in the museum, bring me back, give me whatever I want to have, snacks and all that, uh, and then bring me back in the car. No, 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 we are not talking about that. Even in advance thinking about it, that okay, so uh, uh, if you get hungry in between, can you call up the museum and find out what are the options? Do they have canteen? Do they allow the food inside? Do we need to bring the food from our side? What kind of budget do you think? And sometime each one of them have say 30 rupees in their pocket, and then they know when to spend, how much to spend, or they have their own packed food. Sometime other parents arrange for the whole community, but this whole process that I'm designing this whole trip, and believe me, we have children who have organized these trips right from the 8 year to means. Typically, we think that I'm sharing this 8-year-old example because we think that they are small, they can't do all these things, but but when we give them the opportunity to lead with this kind of say interaction, detailing, and it really amazes, that means we no more get amazed now, because these are just slices of life which children keep on sharing, exhibiting with us.
Yeah, so I only want to give you a statutory warning that if in things like trips, which obviously involve you and the child, and if you get the child to design the trip, then you will also have to go by the budgets he or she sets. You will also have to go by the planning he or she does. And you may not be able to take your own liberties, but it's worth it. It's worth giving all the responsibility that we end up taking for a lot of things to children, so that and just in the whole design process, just ensure that there is enough information, there's enough planning and preparing, and the rest things will go wrong, but I think those will become the highlights rather than just whatever you are planning to do.
Okay, so Ratnish is reminding me to pause. I have couple of more examples, but I think if there are any thoughts I can take, or I can share more. Okay, so any thoughts till now? What's going on in your mind? What are you thinking? Um,
Oh, there can be so many outputs, Rashmi. Maybe you can answer. If you are doing something today, let's say you're going to cook dinner today, let's assume, then what can be an output of that? The outcome will be the cooked food, which everybody will eat, but what can be an output? So I'm inviting all of you to share or give ideas to Rashmi rather than me giving instances of output. What could be an output that Rashmi can do after she finishes cooking dinner today? Yep. Okay. Nalini is saying make a video. Yep. Okay. Bhavika, we'll come to your question in just a minute. Let's give more ideas to Rashmi. What can be? One is making a video. Write a blog with pictures, take pictures and share on WhatsApp, note down the recipe, take feedback, take interviews. Yeah, get everybody to rate it on 1 to 10. Tell us the story of making. Yeah. Right. On an essay on how you make, write a little 4 line poem and sing it. So it can be endless. And in fact, it's a good idea that we start creating idea. When was the last time, Rashmi, we wrote a blog about how we did something, or we made a little podcast of how we did something? So we don't do it, and then we expect children to do it. That's not fair.
Or maybe made a little menu card, what all ingredients are there in today's dish which I have made, or I think somebody has, yeah, I think right from just a quick idea to idea which can take me a lot more deeper or a lot more different ways. Yeah.
Yeah, so Bhavika had a question, something to do with self-centered. But Bhavika, the very act of thinking through this means that the child is taking the responsibility of everybody. If the child is going to make a cake, or the child is going to plan a trip, or the child is going to do whatever, the responsibility of not just the child but everybody else is with the child. So if you ask me, it ends up making children more responsible, and it is going to share right away another story of responsibility. So in fact, it's just the other way around, because the child has to, if the child is going, if we are going to the trip, the child has to take care of my food needs as well as his food needs. He may want chips, but I don't want chips, I want fruits. So there you go, he has to plan two things, double work.
Yeah. Okay. So let me share another design. So there are jobs we have in campus, right from the campus tailor to the campus medic, accountant, receptionist, um, and kitchen manager. And one of the job is the system admin, where one of one of one of the child typically takes the responsibility of laptop. So the job is not given to you just like that. Job is actually, the designing is done, and designing of the job is done through the interview questions, where when there are few questions put up to them, and they actually answer those questions, and then they appear for the interview. And those questions are: what skills do I have, why do I want this job, what do I think I will develop these skills, what the community will benefit from my being in the job, what skills can I offer, and all those kind of things. So what I have put on the slide is one of the interview answer, I mean the question answer which a child has put it up to get the job of system admin. And one of his responses that internet problems will be my priority, and all laptops will have internet working. uh, his one of the one of his responses that he will conduct a training, because he's feeling that the because the children and other community members are not trained in how to use the Wi-Fi and what kind of cyber safety we need to take. So he's saying that if you appoint me for this job, I'll bring this value addition to the whole community. And he's saying that I'll ensure that the codes are explained in a broader way to start, that all ages means all ages can understand, and they can use the laptop without any doubt. And these are some of the issues which he's thinking that it exist in usage of laptop and the community is using. And then look at this, that he is now able to use those issues as an opportunity to get a job for himself. And he's not he's just, I think, when he applied, he was just a 10-year-old child, and with a lot of interest in internet. So he job, okay, so now the job is there, now you start from the next day job, and then you say, okay, I thought I have to do this for the job, and then now there's a lot of mismatch about what the job can do, and then what is that you can do in the job. So this whole design process allows them to think through. And like there was a point when a child says, I'm applying for the job because I want money, and then there was a clarification already there that, oh, okay, so there's no money you're paying, or you will be paying to me as at the end of it. Then he said, I'm not interested, because his reason to have the job was money. So designing process allowed him to think that, do I want this job or I don't want this job. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so Bhavika has a question which I'm not sure if I totally understood it. What I can say is, yes, sometimes he will not like it, sometimes he will like it. Just like you, Bhavika, you may be kind of boss at home, but at different places you just let go. You let other people lead. So I guess all of us don't want to be leaders all the time. Um, Sometimes we want to be the leaders, sometimes we want to be in charge, sometimes we don't want to be. And again, that's a child's own journey if he starts feeling it that way. Okay, let's move on to one more example. I think you want to take this one and in-depth one both.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll
okay,
I'll take you
fine.
through. Okay, so Ratnesh is reminding for the time. I'll take you through few more design processes, and I think 3-4 example which I have taken is the interest in painting and drawing. And so there are various interaction, there are various levels which happens with various children. So like in this case, the child says, I just want to paint. And when I had the interaction with this child, I realized that child just have the desire that I want to paint, not even have touch. And she was 15-year-old when I was interacting with her. She have not touched paint in her life till now. um, uh, uh, and then have no idea about anything else except that I want to paint, and have not painted till now. So there was no other things happened with this child, and we said, okay, just paint, that's all. And realized that she's still stumbling with it, because she had the apprehension about the what kind of material, what kind of paint do I use. And then we had a guidance on what kind of paint you can start, and then she just started, and she started painting. Another child, uh, who just there were 2-3 kids who knew what they want to paint. But then, how do I now go ahead? I have painted few times, I have made few times, and then what do I do? I'm not getting the idea. I'm writing in my planning that I want to do painting, but when I actually sit for the painting, I am blank. I really don't know. And with this child, or these 2-3 children, we had the interaction of understanding that, okay, let's understand, what is painting meaning for you. What kind of medium you have explored till now, what kind of designs have you explored till now, what kind of styles are you aware of it. um, mm, and then we realized that maybe the little lack of exposure of the resources. So we went to the resource room together. Some of us just went through the books. So out of three of them, one decided to use the books as the way forward to go into the painting, while the another one used a shelf full of discarded material, and she got excited about it, that I can paint on these, and this is the moment the resources were there. I think she got the way forward, which she was uh, maybe not able to think at that moment, before we started the design process with this child. Another one was, I really don't know, I just want to draw, but then I don't know how to draw. And this child was given an option to go, why don't you go and take interview of people, that how do they design. And she actually collected around 10 to 15 ideas. She spoke to people, she called a parent, she and noted down, and out of that she said, okay, fine, now this is what I want to do. And then she chose things, and she had lots of collection with her. Another one, I'm interested in dance, but then how do I design my dance now? So with this particular child, we also means we had a it was not a day's process. While we so she's going to the dance classes, and so she has exposure of what is dance means, what is but then how do I take forward beyond what I'm learning the skills. And when we had an interaction, and then when we talked about the resources, and the beauty of it was that the child knew all these, that these are the ways, like internet, TED talks, different dance forms. It's just that that design process interaction helped her to compose everything and bring it for herself, that oh yeah, that all this possible. And when we talked about dance, the fitness came in. When we talked about other things, the research came in. When we talked about the travel, when we talked about that, okay, how else, and the travel came. And this is the one which she actually created for herself, her own design, that this is how I want to go ahead. uh, this
Yeah,
is
this
the
whole slide is made by her. This is her plan. She's a 12-year-old,
yeah
and this is her plan of how she wants to work on her design.
yeah. So I also, in the same go, I want to I think I'll pause. I have two more. How the children design their own profession. Nothing saying, okay,
First, continue.
I will not pause, continue, and then take thoughts at the end of it. So, how do I design my profession? I've been doing it, this child, on and off, and then had the strong desire to do something beyond what he or exploration. He was introduced to the concept of deep diving, that okay, can I dive into one thing, and then how do I dive it? Am I supposed to play football some 10 hours in a day? No, 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 that is what is going to be straining physically. Okay, so then what are the different aspects of football? And that's where these kind of this um, design in terms of mind map came up, that there are so many things I can do with balls, I can do with recording, I can do with through the internet, I can find out research, I can do it by myself, I can work on connecting with different people and find out from them, I can watch matches, and um, I can read about the various people. And and then in this whole process, this another concept called deliberate practice came up, that okay, how do I practice deliberately, how do the different sports people do it. So we started with this, okay, let's not less than 101 ways we talk about that, how can I design my profession. How and this another child who designed her 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 profession of filmmaking after the lockdown happened, and now there was a natural constraint came, that the people were not available to shoot. And yeah, place was there, but then beyond that we had to be all inside, in the sense within the campus. So this child, we had again interaction, and then we started discussing about that, what are the different aspects of film, like the people are there, emotions are there, there are stories behind the cameras are there are technical things are there. And and there are stage decoration, kind of an understanding of the stage, or understanding of the sets are there. There are uh, compositions I need to develop. When I review the movies, I understand movies, and when I watch movies, I I just don't watch it for them watching purpose. I start with one specific uh, you know uh, aspect, that in this movie I will say, I will only talk about, or I will only focus on background music. And as we were discussing, I think this discussion went on for half an hour, and then I came up, and I kept on giving a prompt, and she kept on choosing from those prompt areas, and that's what this list which is there on the slide, which she came up, and she's 15-year-old. And I think Ratnesh is showing me the watch, and these are just some of the example which right from various ages, various styles of the children, various levels, that how designing is possible.
Right. So I think, to summarize this, as children move from younger ages towards older ages, I would I would say at younger ages we come up with options, and as they grow a little older, they will start coming up with more options. So the key idea is options, and everybody likes options. I think. Uh, I'm sure we like to see 10 saris before you buy one. In the same way, children also like options. So when we are operating from not outcomes but options, the value additions will happen. Um, and then children within those options can create their own design. Um, so really, Paru, you're asking for sources. You can just use any source, people, internet, whatever. But the most important resource is the child. How the child what the child wants to look up for options.
Yeah, so I just also want to add in this particular, say, filmmaking thing. We both were thinking, what are the different things related to filming? And it was nice to co-create even that designing, that okay, people comes, emotion comes, stories comes, culture comes, this comes, that comes, and then okay, this happens, okay, this happens. And uh, then it also came up that okay, I'm only watching my one way of that. Then she came up with that, okay, if I watch different different language movies, I can learn different culture, and as a director, if I am aware of about the different culture. So it was a lot of interaction, just one spark film, and then I think we just dissected that whole thing.
And a few thoughts, when so all this designing and discussing is not so long. It could be short and it is iterative, but finally when the child gets to doing, what we suggest is, let's try not to interfere, let's try not to help, let's try not to correct them if they are going wrong. We love them going wrong, we love them going right, we love them going wherever we're going. Let's not judge them good, bad, or whatever. We can leave all of these things where we can, yeah, we can bring all of these things into reflection. uh, and when they are doing, maybe what we can offer, especially we can take care of the safety. We can guide them or show them if they ask for a demo, and if we want to show it, we can be the butler, the assistant, which we talked about earlier. And if at all we need to, which is very rarely, we can kind of remind them if they have asked at the design stage that, oh, if I miss this, remind me, kind of thing. So I guess the more we spend time in design process, the less we will be spending time with them in the doing process, unless obviously we are doing it together. Yeah. So that's the whole idea. So is it time for a little story? Right. So I think, yeah, Bhavika is asking for a story. So I want to share the story of an American president. I think it was Roosevelt, but if I've got the name wrong, don't worry. So this president and a group of his president's entourage was about to cross a river. They were all on horsebacks, and when they came up to the river was little swelling. The water had swelled up, so the person in their group of 30-40 people, he announced that we'll have to cross on the horseback because horses, uh, and we don't get into the water. And then this person saw that there is a villager standing nearby watching all of them. And then he saw the villager approaching the president. And he went up to the president and he said, I was waiting here trying to cross the river. I couldn't cross. Can I come with you? And president said, yeah, obviously, you can jump on my horse. We can go together. Uh, when they had crossed the river, after that, this person, who the security person, so to say, he came to this villager and said, we were about 40 of us there. Why didn't you come to any one of us? Why did you go to the president only? uh, so he said, well, his the way he looked was an invitation. That is why I went to him and not to anybody else. So that's my story today. Can we be an invite? Thank you and good day.